They actually have a plan for today's Nice Guys on Business podcast. You don't want to miss it.
And that's one of the reasons that we're not just going out and buying some Airbnbs.
Right.
We envision a new way of living. And it's the way I want to live. It's the way that I want to be able to bring my wife and my son, along with other group of friends, an entourage, to places in other parts of the world where you can do your work, doesn't disrupt anything for a month or two. Go spend a winter in Costa Rica. You're going to still have spaces for your Zoom calls, high-speed internet. You're going to have your quiet meeting rooms when you need a quiet space, your podcast creation room. You also have your gym to stay healthy, cold plunge, sauna, and hot tub on the rooftop of the Manuel Antonio property. So it's everything you would want. And then we not only can generate passive income when we're not using the properties ourselves, but we also can create an amazing group of people that want to live this lifestyle. And that's what the Nova House is all about.
The Nice Guys on Business are putting the band back together. They're on a mission from God. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler, of course, and I'm bringing you to our Nice Guy community. I'm bringing you Martin Papp. He's a visionary entrepreneur with a flair for creating unique and luxurious experiences. Martin is actually revolutionizing the hospitality scene in Latin America by developing luxury short-term rental properties designed for entrepreneurs called Nova House, remote workers, and bleisure, that's business and leisure travelers with a focus on stunning landscapes of Costa Rica. He's also the founder of a company called PAPP'S TEA, a specialty tea company based in mainland China, supplying over 400 restaurants and hotels across the country and emerging as one of the largest kombucha suppliers in China. I'm excited to be able to talk about quality, innovation, creativity, filling in the white space with what your business is doing. Martin, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Wow, thank you. I couldn't have introduced myself any better than that. That was really well phrased. Thanks, Doug.
My mom does a really good job of writing this, doesn't she?
No, that was great. Thank you. So, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, my friend. I want to connect a couple things so my audience understands we're not promoting a tea company. We're not necessarily even promoting a specific business, but we are talking about overall, like, how do you connect doing or running a business, starting a business, establishing a business overseas with all of the different red tape, all of the different things that they have going on there, and keeping your wits about you and understanding the basic fundamentals of business all at the same time? How the heck do you do that?
Well, you do it by having a lot of effort and time put into it, just like running any other business. And for me, maybe that's kind of what you could describe as like my superpower, is that I enjoy getting into the weeds of that stuff. For me, the novelty and the constant changing landscape of entering new markets, new cultures, is what really drives me and excites me. So I love doing that type of work, and I realize that there's a place for it, and if you're good at it, take advantage of it. And so that's kind of become my career, is enjoying the process of creating businesses overseas.
One of the things I talk to my partner about all the time is, and I'm sure you're familiar with this concept, of staying in your zone of genius, staying in the things that you really love. Maybe in your case, it might be being a big picture person or taking a 35,000 foot view approach to establishing and running a business. It's almost like when you open up a business or start a business overseas, there are so many things that you have to learn. It's almost like you need to bring in other people in order to help fill the void of the things that are not in your zone of genius. Would you agree?
Yeah, well said. It's very much applying a set of principles of how you would start a business and going through that methodology wherever you are to kind of have a blueprint of what do I need to do in order to create a business here. But a big component of that is always going to be identifying the right partners. And so you don't need to go out and do all these things yourself. It's really about you understanding who you should be doing business with and making sure that you can instill the right vision, the right goals for others to go execute those things on the ground.
So when I was in grade school and middle school and senior high school and even in college, I never said, you know what, I'm going to do the most challenging thing. I'm going to start a business overseas before I even do anything here in the US. How did you tell me a little about your journey that kind of led you to begin a company overseas, especially one that might be as restrictive as China?
Sure. I'll write a little background on this. So I graduated from university in 2008 in upstate New York, St. Lawrence University. It was not a great time to be entering the job market. You know, everybody was getting laid off. Property prices had plummeted.
Yeah.
It was a difficult moment for a person just graduating to the workforce. And thankfully, I was reading a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Gladwell,
Highly
yeah,
recommend it.
absolutely.
And the takeaway for me, obviously, there's a lot you can get from that book, but for me, what it was telling me was demonstrating how much timing and place and the resources around you matter in your long-term success. And I remember reading a specific passage where he was talking about two cohorts of people that were born between like 1900 and 1905, 1905 to 1910, and how just by the slight difference in when you were born had long-term impacts on the income you generated through your lifetime. And the theory behind that difference was that one cohort graduated right into the Great Depression in the United States, and that had long-term impacts on not only right when they needed to be developing more work skills, which obviously had a big impact. They didn't have work, but then it also had long-term effects on your expectations in life. You know, what you planned on being, had those long-term effects. And I'm reading this right in 2008, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want this to happen to me. So I immediately was thinking, I want to go put my place where that I'm destined for success, where there's growth, where there's opportunities, where there's emerging markets. And that's what led me to China. I went there not knowing what exactly I was going to do, but I wanted to learn Chinese. I wanted to speak Mandarin. I wanted to have a good time. You know, I know that sounds kind of silly, but like I was in my early 20s, like I'm going to go have a good time. I brought my guitar, my backpack, and I was going to learn Chinese. And I said, at the very least, I'm going to walk away with the language acquisition. That fast forward several years, I was performing music all around the country. Being the white guy speaking Chinese was interesting to people.
Right.
And again, it was all about timing. It was the perfect moment where there weren't a lot of foreigners speaking Chinese yet. And it provided a lot of opportunities for me. And after I met my wife, we got married in Sichuan. We decided to start our own business. And one of the things I had noticed traveling around the country is that it's a huge tea drinking culture. And yet they had very little exposure to the Western types of tea drinking. So like your Southern iced teas, from South Carolina, like you don't get that in China easily. English breakfast, your Earl Greys, Indian teas, Darjeeling tea, bringing mate from South America to China. All of these things were very new to them. And that was a unique insight that I had, is that this is a perfect culture for tea drinking. They love it. They drink it more than they do coffee. I don't know if that's true anymore, by the way.
Right.
But at the time in 2014, it was a pretty novel idea to create a modern tea brand. And I got venture capital funding from a firm in Shanghai. We did the road shows, the business plan, all of that stuff you would expect to see in a startup. And very thankfully, because of the partnership that I had with my wife and a really good Chinese team, we were able to build out to over 400 locations across China, selling to restaurants, hotels, and we still run that today. I run that remotely. I now live in Orange County, California, and the pandemic had something to do with that. But essentially, that business has led me to where I am today, allowing me to take risks and start new ventures. And that's what I've come to realize at this point in time is I want to be traveling more. I want to be working with highly intelligent people with dreams and goals. And so we've created a company called the Nova House, which is what I'm doing at the moment.
Incredible. What a great story. There's so much that I want to double click on in that story. So I need to expand on a couple of things here. But first thing that I recognize is the fact that you said, the white guy in China, and the first thing that popped into my mind is you absolutely filled the white space that needed to be filled. So it's still a viable company. It's still a company that's out there creating revenue, 400 locations. Just approximately, what kind of revenue does the tea company do?
About 2 million USD a year.
Got it.
So it's still a small business. 2 offices, 7 employees.
Okay, perfect. So it is, you have the ability to understand and work that remotely. How much time would you say that you dedicate to that business in the course of your month?
I used to spend a lot of time on it. Let's not think that was a remote startup.
Of course.
But I spent several years working on it really hard. But once the pandemic hit, I was forced to kind of learn how to run it remotely because my son and my wife were here in California. So I wasn't able to travel back and forth like we used to. So I probably spend on it now about 1 to 2 hours a week. And I know that's not a lot. But I also have
you put in the effort though early. Yeah. I mean, it's Strick and I think about our podcast production business. We probably were doing 40 to 50 hours a week each, and this is in a second career for both of us at the time that we started it. So that was in addition to a full-time job, working another full-time job, which wasn't easy. We did that for about 2 or 3 years, and then slowly we started bringing people on and reducing the amount of hours. And we probably do about 15 hours a week right now in our production business, but have 70 clients and an amazing staff that does all of the things that we need done. So I would imagine that running the tea business in the beginning, of course, you spent full-time effort doing it, but that's and so many people compare their beginnings to other people's middles, and somebody might be looking at this right now and saying, well, what about the 100 hours a week that he was working in the very beginning? Yeah, Martin put in the time. He had to put in the time, but now the payoff is there because you've built the business properly, so it doesn't require an exchange of time for money. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, and that's a really good disclaimer. I always worry when you hear advice from influencers or business owners, and people think about how they create and run their own business, and I'm like, no. You need to make sure that you ask them how they ran their business on the first year. It's very different than how they're running it right now.
And think about how long that you probably had to work that business without a paycheck and other people getting paid before you actually even took a paycheck of any sort of substance on your own.
100%.
All right, so let's go. Let's take the journey. Let's continue on. You took a lot of the business principles and the lessons that you learned, and the staying in your zone of genius, and you brought that to the next phase of your business. And I love what you said too. You've given yourself the opportunity through the tea business to actually create an environment where you're able to take a little bit more risk with your new business. So talk about that for a moment.
Exactly. One thing that I noticed once we started making money is that we need places to put it. It's a great problem to have. And we started investing in real estate. We bought apartments in China. We rented them out on Airbnb while Airbnb was still operating in China. They no longer are.
Right.
But we also then bought a villa in Phuket in Thailand. We also did property development here in California, in West Hollywood specifically. And now we're investing in Costa Rica. And one of the things that was very illuminating for me was not only was it a great time, being abroad, living a digital nomad life in a sense, but the amount of opportunity in real estate is really great in some of these emerging markets, more so than what I've found investing in the United States. And I know that's contrary to a lot of U.S. real estate investors because there's definitely money to be made here, but it's extremely competitive. It's really fine margins. Everything's priced in. To find a good deal in real estate these days is hard because there's 100 people that are highly qualified also looking for great deals, if not thousands. Now, when you go to places like Thailand or places like Costa Rica, and you come with that background and that experience, you kind of start to realize that actually you're kind of a bigger fish than a lot of others, and you have maybe more to bring to the table than you thought. And especially if you have some capital, you're able to do and take advantage of more good deals. And I noticed in Costa Rica, for example, what we're building right now, you can build at $100 to $200 per square foot luxury properties.
Wow.
And you can still rent them out at rates that Westerners are accustomed to paying. And you just can't get that kind of ROI in a lot of the developed economies like the United States, where, yeah, you can get great rental rates, but you're also going to be paying $600, $700 per square foot to build, especially somewhere here in like California. And so your return on investment, from my own personal experience versus our Thailand property, which was very low maintenance also, by the way, like when your refrigerator breaks on your condo in the United States, you're paying like $500 to send a guy out to just take a look at it. Whereas when I was with my Phuket villa, it's like that wasn't even paid for. It was just part of like the program of having somebody watch the property, and they fixed it. And so your maintenance costs and your cost of building the properties are so much lower in some of these specialized countries that have good hospitality, good tourism, that you can really generate revenues over 15% a year.
All right, so there was so fill in the blank for me for a moment. There's a difference between buying a rental property for the purpose of renting it out, developing it, selling it, or I'm sorry, developing it, renting it, and collecting rent, versus actually having a pool of investors invest in another investment property, commercial property. So talk about the differences and your discovery of going into this other side of the business.
Sure. The reference to the Thailand property and the California properties were all done personally. However, I want to take this to the next step because I realized that there was an opportunity here that a lot of people weren't seeing. And I want to bring people in on the ride for this. And so we started a company called the Nova House, where we are bringing on limited partners that create a syndication that's based out of the United States. It's registered in Nevada. And we pull money together, and then we go out and identify these very high ROI opportunities in developing countries. Right now, we're focused on Costa Rica. It's the perfect time to be investing there. Goldilocks country, in my opinion, where you have very good freehold property rights. So as a foreign entity or an LLC, you can have the same exact protections and own that land outright as a local Costa Rican would. We partner with a great team down in Costa Rica. So we've identified an incredible general partner team that take ownership with us. So we're talking about highly skilled general contractor, done over 120 builds there in Costa Rica, luxury, great world-renowned and definitely country-renowned architects in Victor and Andres Cañas, and an excellent legal team. And we put those pieces together. We then bring in money from the United States into Costa Rica. We're employing people. We're creating economic activity for the local market there, and at the same time, we then acquire beautiful income generating assets. And the goal is to rent these properties out to high-end clientele that are looking for luxury experiences, as well as creating a network of investors. So the investors that come into us, these are places that we can use. And so I envision over the next several years rolling out an entire program where we have multiple properties around the world, where this investor network also becomes a club. And we can use these properties and we can hold events, whether that's, you holding one. Our first villa in Manuel Antonio has a podcast room. So I want you to come down there.
I love it.
Yeah, we're creating entire highly amenitized spaces for people to work and play at the same time. And that's one of the reasons that we're not just going out and buying some Airbnbs. We envision a new way of living. And it's the way I want to live. It's the way that I want to be able to bring my wife and my son, along with other group of friends, an entourage, to places in other parts of the world where you can do your work, doesn't disrupt anything for a month or two. Go spend a winter in Costa Rica. You're going to still have spaces for your Zoom calls, high-speed internet. You're going to have your quiet meeting rooms when you need a quiet space, your podcast creation room. You also have your gym to stay healthy, cold plunge, sauna, and hot tub on the rooftop of the Manuel Antonio property. So it's everything you would want. And then we not only can generate passive income when we're not using the properties ourselves, but we also can create an amazing group of people that want to live this lifestyle. And that's what the Nova House is all about.
Totally. Oh my gosh, you gave such a great full description of that. I have some questions that I want to come back and circle back to, because I want to find out what the ideal profile is. I think I understand the ideal profile of the person that's interested in becoming an investor who is also going to potentially use the property too. I can see that it feeds on itself, which is a great thing. Somebody goes down to the property, they fall in love with it, and then they say, "Hey, Martin, how do I get a piece of this action? I'm interested in the next property that you're doing." So tell me the profile of the ideal candidate, knowing who is in my audience. I think that would be key for you to, as we talked about it before. So describe it, and then tell me, what do you look for from the ideal investor in your properties?
Great question. So we are a highly regulated industry, and that's done to protect people. So we are classified as a Reg D offering, 506C. What that means is that any investor needs to be accredited. So they need to have a net worth of $1 million or more, or 200,000 W-2 or higher. I don't want to get into the weeds of that, but essentially you need to be an accredited investor. Minimum investment is 25,000. This allows you to become a limited partner, so you get all the financial gain, whereas then I'm the general partner who works on managing these properties. Ideal candidates are going to be people that enjoy having a little diversification of real estate abroad. So if you're ever not finding the good ROI or returns that you want in the United States, you're maybe a little bored of investing in multifamily and apartments in Texas, come do something a little bit more fun. Come do something where you can go and actually use the properties as well. It's not a timeshare. I want to be clear about that.
Right.
It's very much an economic income producing vehicle, but we have every year we're going to hold events. We're going to allow investors to come on down to Costa Rica and visit the properties. So it's going to be for somebody that likes Costa Rica. It's going to be for people that can't wait to go to Thailand next summer. And we essentially take away all of the risk well, I shouldn't say all of the risks. There'll be a lot of disclosures.
Understood.
But we take away a lot of the headaches of what it entails to actually go do that yourself. And so we handle all of the management side, everything from development to property management once the properties are operational.
So talk to me about what is and I'm not holding you to any numbers or any figures, but what's the anticipated revenue or rate of return that somebody could expect from this? They're right now in the stock market, they're getting 10 to 15% in the market. I know that's not a full-time thing, or they're investing. For example, I have a bunch of commercial properties here in the United States. But, if I wanted to go visit my Dollar General and the other things that I have investments in, it's easy to take a trip to West Virginia if I need to or Pennsylvania where the properties are. So share a little bit about what the anticipated rate of return would be.
We expect 15% ROI per year. So annual returns of 15% cash on cash, free cash. And I expect to go north of that, but that's the targeted rate for people if they're considering an option like this. There's also an exit on the back end that's very appealing. So we're looking to make 2 to 3x in 5 years. That would include the potential to hold the property or exit at 5 years. And so when we offer that opportunity to redeem your shares, that's where you can also get a big payout on the back end. Mentioning the plane trip to West Virginia to visit your property, that's one of the reasons that we really like Costa Rica is because it's close. If you're somewhere in Florida, by the way, it's faster to go meet me in Costa Rica than it is to meet me in Los Angeles.
Right.
So it's just south of Mexico, and well, obviously you have to then also go to Nicaragua and then to Costa Rica.
That way, right.
But it's very, that's why I call it the Goldilocks country, because I think there's huge opportunities in places like Bali, Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, and that's very much on the list moving forward. But we thought Costa Rica was just an excellent option for U.S. investors because of the proximity, because it's easy to go down there and visit it. And so we see that as Costa Rica is an excellent baby step to investing abroad and safer than investing in Mexico, which is contrary to a lot of people's opinions.
Well, I'm so open to this idea because I think it is an idea that there are a lot of people. We've had many people that have come on the podcast, sit in the guest seat, and share their their systems about how to invest in commercial real estate and residential real estate and make money, and that it doesn't have the sex appeal what your offer is. And I can tell just from the short-term conversation that we've had, just your genuine love for the project itself. It's like, hey, look, you probably could be in a position where you don't have to do anything. As a young guy, I think that's idle time is never a good thing. And I think that you are not looking for the over risk. You don't remind me or spark me as someone that has, this wild hair to do something that's ultra risk filled, or that's living in a state of, I can't wait to have my Lamborghini, and you're putting the money into your pocket. I really do feel like in Nice Guy Community, I know that you're not seeing Martin, but I am, and in the short period of time, you can tell he's genuinely a nice guy. I mean, he's really a good guy. He led the conversation talking about his relationship. So all of that stuff with his wife. So all of that stuff, goes into my head and say, hey, look, here's somebody on that side of the microphone that I feel confident that has a viable venture for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think it's important to do something that's going to be fulfilling. And when you have the opportunity to be in a blessed position where you have capital at your disposal to go do something, if your only consideration is financial gain, I think you're really missing a component of, well, you do realize that you could have financial gain and do something that's incredibly rewarding. And for me, the travel component, the constantly engaging with smart, fun people, whether it's talking with you on a podcast or meeting with one of our investors at the properties in Costa Rica, it's fun. I love doing it, and so it's hard not to it's hard not to brag about how awesome awesome it is to do something like this.
Is there anything that I should be asking you that I am not? I don't want to leave out anything that you think is a critical component for this. I know that 100%, again, Nice Guy Community, complete transparency. Martin, when we connected, he said, are we recording today? Or are we just having a conversation today? So I know I'm not giving you a lot of time to think about the answers or the questions themselves, but is there anything that I should be sharing that I'm not sharing?
No, I think if anybody, if this has sparked people's interest, they're looking for an income generating vehicle that's a little bit more exotic, a little bit more fun, definitely come and check out our website. It's www.thenovahouse.com, and house is spelled with H-A-U-S. So Novahaus. And I think that's where I would start. And then from there, I'm happy to hop on a call with anybody that's accredited and wants to get more information. I'm happy to have a call. We can arrange trips down to Costa Rica for you to visit the sites yourself and join the Nova House community.
Awesome, man. I have, as you were talking, I thought about a couple of other podcasts that are in our network that we produce their shows that I think you might be an ideal fit to go on those shows. So if you're open to sharing your message a couple more times on a couple more podcasts, I think we have the right trick for you here to do.
I'm happy to handle any intros, and I also would like to extend my invitation for you to come have a guest podcast experience in Costa Rica. We'll set you up, and you can have maybe bring down some of your crew and spend a week over in our property and have your own podcast sessions there.
All right, let's figure out how to make that happen, because I have a partner that loves traveling. I kind of am I'm a little bit of a not a shut-in, but I'm a guy that I was in the live events business for 30 years, and I so prefer sitting at my desk, having my comfortable bed just a few feet away, having my comfortable kitchen, having my comfortable pool and all the stuff and the my trappings. But I might be persuaded. I heard you had a podcast studio. I heard you say that, so I'm like, this could be kind of interesting.
Hey, well, you know what is also really, this is kind of a deep thought, but I think it's worth saying. For me, traveling actually makes my home experience better. By being outside of your home for a few days, even if it's just a few days on a business trip somewhere, coming back home is so nice to really appreciate the comforts that you have near you. So even if you're an at-home kind of person, I feel the best thing you can ever do to really appreciate it is to go do something
I know.
for a week or two in another country.
My girlfriend's
Yeah.
been talking to you. I know it. She's like, get him out of the house. Get him out
No,
of the
but
freaking
it's
house.
so true though, because if you get out and then you come back, you're just like, oh my God, I love my room so much. It's just so comfy.
Well, it's interesting. We do our turnkey team, and we have 10 of us that are local here in the U.S. Our turnkey team does a yearly trip, and we've gone to Vegas the last 3 years just because it's easy to get to from anywhere in the United States. But I think we might be able to do something like that in Costa Rica. That could be kind of fun. I think that would be a really cool adventure. So we'll chat
All
about
right.
that.
I'm penciling you in.
Martin, thank you so much for sharing. Nice Guy Community, all of that information that Martin gave you, including, don't worry about the spelling of Nova House. It's going to we'll put it in the show notes so you have access to it. Martin, thanks for sharing your message today.
Thank you, Doug.
Hey, Nice Guy Community, never underestimate the value of nice or the value of a creatively spun investment property in Costa Rica. Special thanks to our guest, Martin Papp. All of his information, including access to his website, right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Have fun storming the castle, boys.